YouTube, what is going on? PP is back. It is Past the Prop, our Wednesday show. A little bit different today, but we're back on our Wednesday as always. Joined as always by my guy Monton Football. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. We've got basketball here. It's a whole nother world. And like you kind of mentioned, Thursday night, there's all this injury stuff. It's kind of a weird game where we don't have much information. So I figured, we bring up some NBA, right? We're betting it, both of us. The people are betting it. Why not get a nice multi-sport Past the Prop going, bring in a throwback from last season. So I'm ready. It should be a good day.
Yeah, no, ton of NBA. Obviously, I think, 12 games today? 12 games on the slate. Obviously the two game spot last night. I did okay. I think I split down the middle. But yeah, it was good. It was a good day, good games. Really, really high scoring Boston game. I like to see that, right? They had a nice little pace to that game. I was surprised, right? I think the total was like 216, and that just absolutely exploded.
Yeah, no, Boston, they kind of made a statement right there. I think we both expected both teams to be good, but there was some offseason drama, the coaching change. We didn't really know how it would affect them. That team looked great. Tatum was absolutely flawless on both sides of the ball. Then Brogdon came in and played a very nice, clean, efficient six-man. I know that might not have been the biggest story from the game, but definitely something that stuck out to me, right? You never know how a starter is going to transition into that six-man role, but he looked like he handled it very well. So Boston definitely shown their team to beat this year.
Yeah, no, I'm obviously a Brogdon fan. Obviously, wish he didn't leave. But Drew does his job, so I can't be too mad with the Bucks there as well. But kind of one thing I want to talk about here before we get into it, we're going to start out with NBA, then go into our Thursday night football, and then to our DFS spot. But one thing I want to bring up, and I think you probably have a pretty good idea of what you're going to say for this, is when we're this early in the season, there's a lot of stuff that's obviously fluid, right? You just don't know. Is there teams? You don't have to give specific examples or anything like that, but like, are you avoiding some specific teams because of stuff from the offseason, stuff from the draft, waiting to see some stuff? Obviously, mine is more I'm playing. I don't usually play half unit plays, but there's more half unit plays on my card today than usual. Nothing going over one unit. That's usually how I stick. But I do avoid some teams just when I have question marks. Are you the same way, or is there something like, if we have a new sports bettor here, first time betting NBA, what would you tell them in terms of first couple weeks here?
No, that's a great point. Yeah, I like the sticking slow, kind of rolling with the punches. Obviously go with what your gut says. If you think you have a read, if you think the market is misinterpreting something, go with it. But for me, I do try to avoid some of these teams that have a lot of question marks, right? When we look at a team like the Jazz or something like that, right, that has absolutely a whole different roster. This is a completely different team. It's very hard for me to know how the minutes are going to be allocated, who's going to play in what role. So the way I would approach those is maybe go for some more high variance, low risk plays. I think a good example off the top of my head would be someone like Jordan Clarkson, right? I don't know if I want to play his 2 threes tonight or his 3 threes, but maybe I will sprinkle on 4 or 5 threes at like plus 500, plus 800, prices like that, because we know from the course of his career, Jordan Clarkson is a volume shooter. When that guy gets the ball in his hands, he loves to chuck it. Now he's going to be playing as pretty much a primary starter this year, which we've never seen before. So we don't actually know how that's going to work. But I would like to maybe take a risk on that and try out the plus 800 for 5 threes rather than just putting more money down on like 2.5 threes.
Yeah, no, and there's like some teams for me, like right now, I have to see how the Pelicans play before I touch anything Pelicans. Now that Zion's back and he's a freaking 28% usage plus percent guy right there. How does that fit with the CJ McCollum? They never played together, and then obviously in mid-20s usage in Ingram, mid-20s usage in Valanciunas, right? There's just so much usage to go around. Like, are they just going to only play with 4 players? There's just so much to go around there. So, like, that's what I was kind of thinking. Like, I can't touch that game, even though I love the total. I love everything about the game, but I kind of have to see a few games there before we can really figure stuff out.
Yeah, I might have broken your rule then a little bit in that one, because I don't know if you saw my Twitter. I did play Zion 18.5 points earlier today.
No, I like that line.
I agree with what you said about how it affects everyone else. And I agree with that, like Brandon Ingram, or in fact, Valanciunas under was something I was even considering a little bit too, just because like you said. But as soon as I saw that 18.5, I was like, whoa, this doesn't feel right at all, right? We were betting 27.5, when he was obviously a little bit younger and healthy. So I don't know. I definitely get what you're saying, though. There's a lot of question marks with a lot of different teams. And yeah, Ryan brought up a good point, too. Like a team like the Raptors, who are pretty much running over, like, same team from last year. They added Otto Porter Jr. in there, but relatively minimal change. I agree. Those are the teams that you can extrapolate more from last season.
Yeah, and then there's like the teams that kind of get somebody back, like the Zions, like obviously, like I know De'Aaron missed some games at the end of last season, right? Stuff like that. But Zion, I think, is the one ruining it for everybody else. I don't think it's going to be ruined for him. Obviously, he's the guy there versus CJ McCollum, right? Obviously, that's pretty obvious there. Is there, before we get into it, is there a game that you're looking forward to? Opening night? What is your big screen TV, that big plasma screen? What is thrown on there? What game? Obviously, there's some high totals, but there's some big spreads in some of these big total games.
Yeah, I mean, as you can see, the Washington sign right there, the Nationals hat on. I need a Wizards memorabilia to complete the collection, right? But I'll definitely have Pacers Wizards on my big screen TV. I know that may not be as exciting to some other people. As for another kind of non-biased game, I will have to say the Raptors play the Cavs, right? That's another matchup that we see on the slate. That one's going to be interesting. Two teams that are kind of scrappy defensive teams with a lot of young players that have potential. I want to watch that one. That sounds like a good game to me.
Yeah, and I have one that's a big spread and one that's not. I don't know which one I want to put there. Obviously, I really, really want to see this new Hawks lineup facing off against Houston. Yep. Such a fast-paced game. What is it, 235 total, which is nuts. And then I'm going to another one in like the Portland-Sacramento for my late-night game. I love those guys. I love those late-night hammer games where it's just no defense, run and gun, let's go. And I'm curious how things are going to look with a fully healthy Sacramento team, right? You got De'Aaron, you got Davion, you got Sabonis now, right? Dude, that they kind of are going to be on my prop cards quite a bit this year. I've been liking the Sacramento team. I bet Sabonis probably way too much last year. He was pretty much every week I knew I had him at least 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, that's how it goes, man. You got to find your guys. Find your guys that you stick with. For me, Rui was my guy, if you remember from last season. He's on the bench now, but I still am hunting Rui numbers. If somebody gives me 1 3-pointer made before drop, I'll be betting that one. So we got to find our guys,
Yeah, no, I literally was talking about, I think the guy that I'm doing today, I used quite a bit last year on Pass the Prop, and my YouTube Play of the Day video was Giddy, and he's always on Pass the Prop. Yep. That was my boy there. So he's made it all over the place. But yeah, I'm really excited here to break this down. And we talked about that Atlanta game. You ready to go into your play today?
Oh, yeah, definitely right here. Really like this play right here. I'm going Jalen Green over 22.5 points. -105 is the best price on PointsBet, but everywhere else is like -110, -115. I obviously don't mind betting those at all either. I was never like a Jalen Green fan or anything like that last year. I know a lot of people kind of got on the wave. He cashed a lot of tickets towards the end of the last year. But if we remember, it took him a long time to actually get in the NBA flow of things, right? He played in the G League the season before that. He relied a lot on his athleticism and stuff like that. So he had a slow start to the season. But as he, got more and more usage, as he got more and more involved and actually started to knock down these shots, he was great at the end of last year. I mean, I think you remember this. There were portions where his number was set at like 25, 26. Like he was seeing insane volume. He was finally looking good. He was finally knocking down shots. What I absolutely love to see is that looked like that continued in the preseason, right? I know we can't really extrapolate too much, but really what I'm looking for from the preseason is confidence. Everything's looking good. And he looked great. The volume was insane, right? He looked absolutely phenomenal. Every single Rockets beat reporter you go to, he looks faster, he looks stronger, he looks more confident. I haven't seen a single negative thing come out about Jalen Green this offseason. So if we're going to continue to see the insane kind of volume you saw towards the end of last year, then sign me up every day. Additionally, they did just drop too that it looks like Sengun might not be starting at center anymore. And that is an interesting note because he's a fairly high usage center, right? I mean, the way it kind of works, I was looking at his assist. He likes to have the ball in his hands. He can make plays. He's not Jokic, but that's the comparison a lot of people are giving to, like what he could be eventually with the passing ability he had. So now seeing him out of the starting lineup offers up even more usage for a guy like Jalen Green. So like you said, super high total, fast-paced game. I really don't think the Rockets are going to be able to stop anyone. Like, they might not even cover the 10 points. They could give up an insane amount of points this season. That defense is not going to be good again this year. So Jalen Green's going to have to be shooting today. So absolutely love this prop. 22.5 just feels way too low.
Yeah, and I always I know you're not the biggest UFC guy, but when you have like these young dudes, they improve so quickly, man. They can improve so fast. That's how I always relate it to martial arts. When you see these guys that are like 20 years old, they take like 6 months off and they just look like a completely different player, right? And that's kind of what I think about with Jalen Green, all these like 19-year-old, 18-year-old kids finding their way into the league. These are the types of guys that can take that huge jump a lot faster than what you're going to see from like a 25-year-old guy, second or third year in the league. You usually just don't see that huge jump like you can see from like these young dudes. So I definitely agree. I think Green's going to take that step forward. That Rockets team's going to be fun to watch. I'm sure they're going to be a DFS dream every time they touch the court. So Jalen Green is definitely going to probably be on that DFS card for me today. And I'm going to a higher score. I'm going to a high game here. I'm going to the center position. I'm going to Jakob. I know. Not flashy. The dude just gets the job done. He's nothing too crazy. But I do really like this without DeJounte Murray there. DeJounte Murray, 8.3 rebounds per game last year. Obviously, that has to go somewhere else. And obviously, looking at when he played with Murray versus when DeJounte was out of the games, right? He had a 16.6 rebounding percentage with DeJounte Murray on the court. Without him on the court last year, 19.3%. That's a huge jump for just having one guy off there, especially when it's a guard to a center, right? That's not something you usually see, but that's just how good DeJounte Murray is at rebounding the basketball, right? 8 rebounds for a guard. Everybody kind of thinks now that like Russell triple-doubled and he's a small guard. Russ was literally just grabbing everything off of like those free throws and stuff. It is not easy to rebound that well as a guard. But what I did like to see too is a lot of people might be thinking that the Spurs are going to slow their pace down here. But you got Charlotte on the other side. That was the exact same pace as them. They were 5th and 6th in the league last year, 100 possessions per game. And I'm gonna bring up a question to you here, Stu. Could you name me the backup center for the Spurs this year?
Is it Zach Collins?
No. Second does. I'm gonna assume this is gonna be the backup.
Yeah, no clue.
Yeah, that's how bad it is. Gorgie Zhang is their backup center, which I did not know until I looked this up either. But obviously, that's a huge drop off here, going from Pirtle to Zhang. And then one other thing I like to look at too. Obviously, you have Plumlee on the other side. He ain't going out to the 3-point line. He's stuck in the bottom. We talked about that a ton. But one other thing I like to bring up is just minutes, right? Just figuring out how many minutes are these centers going to play. And I looked at last year's first month of the season, right? You look at last year's first month of the season, this spread, I'm pretty sure, is a pick 'em right now or -1. In every game, there were in the first month of last season, there was 5 games that they had within 10 points. And he was averaging 31.6 minutes in those games. And one of those games, he only played 23 because he played the Bucks, and the Bucks didn't have Brook Lopez, and there was nobody down in the paint. So he got played off the court. He's not going to get played off the court here. Plumlee's there. And if you take that out, he's sitting over 34 minutes in the first month of the season last year in these games. So he's trusted by Popovich. He's a guy that knows what he's going to do. Nothing too crazy. Grabbing rebounds, putting putbacks back in there. I love Jakob Poeltl tonight. Obviously, DFS, he's cheap as well. And he's just kind of an under-the-radar guy. Nobody wants to bet on Jakob Poeltl, right? He's boring, right? But I think that in this spot, with the matchup here and just the rebounding rates going to be going around, I love Jakob Poeltl tonight.
Yeah, no, and I mean, obviously, like you said, DeJounte leaving is a huge thing. I mean, playing center rebounds versus the Hornets was a huge thing last season. I think we see that continue, especially because the pieces haven't changed, right? It's still Mason Plumlee holding it down, like you mentioned, not going out to the 3-point line. Another thing, too, the Spurs are going to get blown out a lot this season, like a lot. I don't think this is the spot where it happens. The Hornets, I mean, they've got a lot of problems going on. LaMelo Ball going to be missing the first at least month, right? Or even more. And then I don't know if you saw the James Bouknight stuff.
Yeah, like DUI or something, right? Something like that.
For the second time within a week. Not just bad news for him, but even like how that affects his teammates. That I'm not saying it's a huge deal, but obviously just kind of a a weird vibe going around Carolina this season. Doesn't feel like they're going into this year with a lot of confidence. So I do think this will be close enough where Pirtle should be able to get those consistent minutes. So should be a good look right here at 11.5.
Yeah, no, I know we were betting them at 9.5 and all that stuff, but you can bet his double at like minus 190, right? That's crazy. That's like I was betting Pirtle plus money last year for rebounds and doubles there, and obviously now they're giving us a very scary price, one that plus money Bob would throw up at. So we ain't gonna be touching that, but I think that's the best way to get the best amount of value from this play here. And let's head into Taylor Fade. Before we do that, we have 4080, you guys. Awesome. Thank you guys for tuning in here live with us. If you guys could smash that like button, we'd appreciate it. If you got questions, drop them quick. We're going to be around that 30 to 35 minutes for this show. Want to make sure that we get everything that we can in here. So if you have anything, drop it in there. We looking like Terrence bringing up. He grabbed Zion as well as Turbo. I love to see that. And then we'll drop a welcome. We got Turbo in the chat in here. ZPLC, I think I got that right. ZPLC TV popping in here. This is something I do want to bring up to you too. You talked about Jalen Green popping off here. Are you a ladder guy this early in the season? Obviously, we do that later in the season when you start seeing our long shots that we do at the end of shows that we did last year. If you guys tuned in last year, you guys know we throw some pretty big ones together to try and get some big plus money. But this early in the season, is this a spot where you do maybe grab Jalen Green 30 points, maybe Pirtle 16 rebounds, right? Is that something that you're thinking about this early in the season, or are you just kind of going with those easier straight bets?
I think for me, it's probably less of a ladder and more of if I bet the straight for like a full unit, then it's normally only a small sprinkle on one other benchmark, right? If I have a full unit on a play, then I'm normally not going to go 25 points, 28 points, 30 points. I'll normally go, 22 points, right? And then I'll hit the 30 points also for another smaller play. But we just don't know. I like trying to take advantage of the variance, like we mentioned earlier. A lot of these guys could pop off, right? Because the books are speculating and so are we. So if we believe we have a strong edge over the books at this point in the season, they don't have any data to work with. So if you trust your edge right there, then I don't mind laddering at all this early. I think you're probably going to get more advantageous spots. The problem is they're just going to be more random.
Exactly. A good breakdown there for sure. And let's head into our Pickett Taylor Fade section, the most bet spot of the day. I've been seeing this everywhere, so I'm not surprised that this is the spot. Kevin Durant over 27.5 points. I know DK got roasted for the Herbert boost, and I know this is the 20-point boost here. So, I mean, do you just take the fade just because DraftKings are paying off all these players or what?
No, I don't think you do that. I mean, if you have the boost available to you, I think you do it. If you're a smaller bettor that doesn't want to risk losing, then you could just take the ARB, right? You could take the over 20 points, and then you could take the under. That gives you a 7-point middle, and you can make some money either way. But as for just the regular number, people have already kind of talked about him in opening days, right? His opening game logs have been very good this season. It's hard for me to fade KD. They have Kyrie there. He'll be healthy. I actually haven't heard anybody talk about Kyrie, which is almost a little alarming. It feels like those are always the games he kind of goes off on. But, I mean, I like this spot, to be completely honest. It's Kevin Durant playing basketball. When you get him a little deeper in the season, he has to carry the load so consistently. You can see him being a little bit less efficient. But now that he has, clean legs, he's feeling good, I think he probably does go over this one. So I'm not going to disagree with the public. I'll be tailing day number 1, Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I'll probably be tailing against this Pelicans team. 232 total is just too high to not have the best scorer in this game get this spot, right? I mean, Brandon Ingram probably having to match up with him, right? You're going to have Brandon Ingram there. I just think KD's a little bit too good to be shut down on an opening day here. He's going to have one of those big years as always, at least scoring the ball. I'll kick this to you. Obviously, this is a Wizards or a former Wizard guy here. Over 1.5 threes is Kuzma. I know you guys got Porzingis now with everybody back and Beal. I don't think Porzingis played at all with Beal when he came over. So a lot of mouths to feed. Is Kuzma threes? Is that a spot you're looking at for ZPLC?
It's a tough one, right? Because Kuzma wasn't the most efficient guy in the world last year. He was good, but he was getting there on high volume, to be completely honest. And like you mentioned, now we have Beal, we have Porzingis, we got a lot of different mouths. Will Barton is now going to be playing a major role. The thing is, we just don't know what the minutes distribution is going to be like this early in the season for the Wizards wings, right? I mean, they're sitting with Rui Hachimura and Denny Advia, two of their young players who can play that 4 position as well. With Kuzma there starting. So it's just kind of hard for me to tell. I'm a big Wizards fan. If you don't know that yet, you definitely will over the course of the season. I need to see how they distribute these minutes, because honestly, his 17 points, which I saw it open at earlier, that felt a little bit high to me too, with just so many mouths to feed. That was the same number as Porzingis for context. So it'll be interesting to see how they manage these rotations. The Wizards have a lot of capable players, not a lot of stars, unfortunately. So I'm probably going to be leaning under. I'm probably just going to be staying away from Kuzma for right now, to be completely honest.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what we talked about earlier, right, in the show. Like, there's so many different new people, right? There's so many things that you got to figure out. And this is a team with a little bit more of the moving parts, less like we talked about with the Raptors, where there's just not many, right? You know who's getting the minutes and everything like that. So it looks like Jay's hyping you up. I don't know if he's just doing that to hype you up here, or if he's actually going on there. But I do love Will Barton. I bet on him all the time. The dude was a beast. So curious how that'll go.
I hate Will Barton, so
I always loved betting him.
Yeah, I mean, he's fun to bet on because he takes a lot of isolation shots. He's a high volume guy. I would honestly have rather we just traded for Monty Morris completely. I want to see our young guys play minutes. We drafted Johnny Davis at the 10 slot. We have Denny that can play at the 3. We have Rui that can play a bit at the 3, and Corey Kispert when he gets back from injury as well. So I would prefer that Will Barton didn't exist on this team, but that's life.
Yeah, no, you guys got my Badger on there, Johnny Davis. I'm happy to see that. Hopefully he does well for you guys as well. You guys got a lot of young talent over there for sure. And then Beal, I know he didn't play last year at the end of the year. Are you going to him, or you got to see a little bit first?
I want to. I really do. Maybe I'll play like a Prize Picks 5 pick tonight just to, boost my viewing experience a little bit. And I think Beal might sneak his way in there. I'm not going to bet, big money on it quite yet, but it's just a low number. We saw his shooting numbers go down last season. That's because he was tasked with a lot more ball handling. They brought in 2 capable ball handlers for the first and second unit with Monty Morris. And who's that guy from the Raptors and the Hawks? Delon Wright. There we go. 2 capable ball. What?
Said, yeah, Daylon. I love that guy.
Yeah, so 2 capable ball handlers. I think that means a lot more nice scoring opportunities. He had to create everything for himself last season. He'll finally get some good shot creation this year. So I'm looking to take advantage of that, but I might have to give it a game or 2 first before I put some big money on it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, let's we are done with the NBA stuff, which is now we're heading on over to NFL here. We will get to all your questions NBA wise and everything there, but we got to get our NFL stuff in. Let's do our quick recap from last show, right? We had a nice little sweep up. Eckler, 4 catches. What do you have? 26 catches on like 29 targets. Jesus Christ. Under 14 and a half. Easy winner. And I don't know if I said we'd have to sweat, but we didn't have to sweat, right?
Nope.
Mike Williams had 8 yards receiving. The only catch, he wasn't even guarded by Surtain. That was one of like the 4 routes that he ran without Surtain on him. Surtain is a legit shutdown corner. He's turning into like Surtain Island, right? That's what they called Mr. Revis when he was the man. So this is our year-to-date NFL. We're closing in almost 5 units now, right? We started a little bit slow to the season, but we're starting to pick it up, which I love to see. And we're going to start adding on to this. Obviously, I will continue to do this for an NBA as well. So we will have a full number context for you guys on how we've been doing this year. Obviously, we want to show you that we are making you money through the long run. That's all it's about, because I know we're going to have some bad weeks. I know we're going to have some sweeps like we just did there. So it comes with the territory. So that's where we're going to be at here. We have a weird little game here on the slate. Cardinals versus Saints. I don't have any bets in this game right now, so this would have been completely pointless to talk about bets. What is your thoughts here? There's so many like red flags to this game. I just don't even know what to do with it.
I wanted to bet the Saints. I did. I feel like the Cardinals are one of those people where, oh, my screen's going crazy, right? Every week people just go, oh, they're going to get it together. Nope, they're going to get it together now. Last week would have been the perfect time to get it together, right? 31st ranked Seahawks DVOA defense. They didn't take advantage of it. They scored 9 points, right? They didn't do anything with it. The Saints defense hasn't been great this season either. The thing holding me back is these Saints, man, they are injured right now. They just lost their guard, Pete. He won't be playing. Michael Thomas will not be playing. Jarvis Landry will not be playing. And now it looks like Marshawn Lattimore will not be playing, which would be a huge loss in covering DeAndre Hopkins on the outside. I don't really believe in either of these two teams. It's kind of hard to put my hard-earned money into either one of them. So for right now, I kind of lean Saints, but those injuries. If Lattimore can play, if he does end up kind of miraculously, maybe he gets a limited practice tomorrow, then maybe I do support the Saints a little bit more. But it's just a tough one right here.
Yeah, dude. Talking about this first game for NBA and now talking about like all these moving parts. Talk about this Cardinals team. Everything moving. Hollywood Brown out for how long, right? You're going to replace him with Robbie Anderson, right, with all that shit that's going on. Mind you, on a short week, getting DeAndre Hopkins in these practices on a short week, right? Who's getting these targets? Where are they going now, right? You got Rondale Moore stepping up, but now you have an alpha receiver coming in. You're losing your number one from before. You still have Ertz there, right? There's just so many different people here. A lot of mouths to feed. Don't even know if Robbie's going to play in his first game over here. There's just so many question marks all over the place. Saints is more of the injury bug. Cardinals is more of just we just added like 3 new people. So it's like there's nothing to really go off of. I would lean Cardinals as well. I think they're getting 2 points, right? I think they're +2.
The Cardinals, I think they're
no. Saints are +2. My bad. Saints are +2. I'm going to guess that's probably moving with the Marshawn Lattimore news. I think it was like 1.5 this morning when I checked, at least on DraftKings there. So there's a lot of moving parts, dude. I cannot trust any spot in this game. I love me some Greg. Dude, I wish Greg Dortch was playing, bro, but I think that's the Rondale Moore spot, unfortunately, because Greg Dortch literally single-handedly just filled in my 16-team flex spot with just getting 8 to 10 points a week. The dude was a beast. I love that guy, but hey, all good things have to come to an end. He had to flare out a little bit there. We got Ryan bringing up Kyler Murray to get first touchdown. Hey, it could be. It could be.
I don't mind it, actually. I wrote up I posted on Pickett only so far right now, but I did write up a little Kyler Murray to score a touchdown and Taysom Hill to score a touchdown, kind of quarterback combo right there at plus 650. So I do like Kyler Murray to get in the end zone. Just I don't know it feels like he's gonna have to do a lot himself this week. So I do like that look, honestly.
Yeah, no, there's injuries to the running back position. Don't assume any of those guys are coming back. And Saints are usually pretty decent against the run. Pass is when where they've been getting torched here. But yeah, let's head into some DFS. We did talk about the Seahawks and just how bad Arizona played against them. Looking like your play for your stud this week is going to be in that game this week. You got Seattle for your guy, and obviously I'll be heading to Houston.
Man, look at this DraftKings pricing. All these young guys are up there. Kenneth Walker, Damian Pierce, Breece Hall. These guys are all priced with the best of the best. Although you're getting about a $1,000 discount with Kenneth Walker at $5,800. I mean, I know we normally play higher priced guys are studs. I know Kenneth Walker will be popular. The only good thing is these other rookies like Breece Hall actually might take away, a little bit too of the ownership. But man, Kenneth Walker out snapped. He out, targeted. He ran more routes. He got more carries. He did everything better than DJ Dallas, right? We kind of knew that was going to happen, but Pete Carroll is Pete Carroll. So it's good to have that confirmation, especially in the receiving game. I watched a lot of Michigan State. Kenneth Walker was not a pass catching back. I mean, he can do it. He has hands. He can do his best job at it. But it's good to see that they're using him in the passing game here. They were doing that even with Rashad Penny healthy too. So it's good to stay consistent. It just seems like he's kind of a 3-down back right now. He can do everything. He's breaking off explosive plays. And now we get a phenomenal matchup against the Chargers on a short week. Latavius Murray had 5 yards per carry. Latavius Murray, he was on the practice squad 3 weeks ago. How did this happen? I don't know. The Chargers' run defense is dreadful. It is awful. Whatever negative adjective you can think of, put it on the Chargers' run defense right here. Whether they're leading, whether they're behind, Kenneth Walker should be very, very involved this week. I like we're getting a kind of tired Chargers team in a close game. I think he's going to have a great DFS performance. Should be the goal line back as well.
Yeah, no, dude, I love Kenneth Walker. I had him in I only did a late game one last week. But obviously he did very, very well. I'm into Dameon Pierce, man. This dude is now a workhorse back, right? We did not think this was going to be the case. You remember 4 weeks ago, everybody's talking about Rex Burkhead, dude. Everybody's picking up Rex Burkhead. Now you look at Dameon Pierce, he's averaging 19 carries a game since game one, right? 19 carries. That is crazy workload, right? And for me, what's even taking a little bit more here is the last 2 games, 11 targets. You're giving this man 11 targets. He is now completely like there's no blowout proof, right? You're not worried about being down 10 and seeing Rex Burkhead just play the entire game, right? Dameon Pierce is taking over this backfield completely, right? He's like 2 weeks ahead of where we think Breece Hall is going to be, right? Where he's starting to get to those positions of being like 80, 90% out there. Dameon Pierce is just taking control of this complete backfield. 80% of the running back touches last week. And I think it went even higher in one of the other ones. I think it was 2 weeks ago. He was like over 85. So I love Dameon Pierce, and I love this Vegas front seven. I think that we're going to be able to torch them pretty much any way you really want to. And they've just been running the ball so much more and more effectively, right? I was looking at Brandon Cooks, right, in this last couple of weeks. His target share is just going down so much. I think he's only got like 6 targets last week. And he had like 12 and 10 the first couple of weeks when these guys started throwing the balls around. Now you're starting to see those turn into dump offs, right? Now it's getting to be Dameon Pierce. Give the ball to your best player and let him do whatever he can in space. This Houston team is really struggling for playmakers, and Pierce is definitely the upper echelon of this team. So I'm going to be rolling with him. He's only 6,400. Obviously only went up 200 from last week, and he was very popular there and still ended with 20 points, right? So back-to-back 20-point weeks. I think that we definitely are able to capitalize on this Vegas defense.
Yeah, completely agree. Vegas pass rush is good. Should mean more dump downs too, right? As they get to the quarterback, just those quick targets. So completely agree with this one.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So we were both in like that 6K, 5,800, 6,400 range. Now we're heading down into the 5Ks. And you're heading to my team. I'm heading to your team, which is kind of funny. So I'll let you take it first. You're backing one of my Packers here.
Yep, Romeo Doubs. The thing is, I actually do like Lazard a little bit more for the week, but then when I looked at their discrepancies in DraftKings pricing, and then the lack of discrepancy in actual targets, route runs, yards, all that stuff, that made me pick Doubs, right? Doubs is $1,000 cheaper than Lazard is, and I just don't think that is warranted right here. You can beat Washington with the pass. I know they're going to come in and try to run the ball, but every team does that against Washington. Every team tries to come in and run the ball, and they realize we could just pass. It's so much easier, right? That front line full of all those Alabama first-round picks is good. They are good in the trenches. You may be able to get those dump-offs to Aaron Jones, stuff like that could get working, but it is just much easier to pass on that extremely weak secondary composed of Kendall Fuller, who's been terrible, St. Juste, who's been okay, and then some guy named Wild Goose is out there starting in the slot because William Jackson sucks. So it's a very bad secondary. Doubs has obviously earned the trust of Aaron Rodgers so far, so I think he'll be plenty involved this week, especially at that 5,000 price point.
Yeah, and one thing I don't know if you mentioned in there, if I didn't hear it, but I don't know what's up with Cobb. I haven't heard anything.
2 weeks, out at least 2 weeks.
Yeah, so I haven't heard anything like specific on if they're just going to feature Doubs or anything there, but he is the most likely to take over all of those targets, right? You can tell it takes a little bit to earn Rodgers' trust, but he's definitely getting it. The wide receiver screens that usually went to Adams are now going to Doubs. He's the most electric in space, so that looks very good. I love him this week as well. And obviously, I'm heading to your team. I'm heading to Brian Robinson. I know your thoughts on Brian Robinson versus Antonio Gibson, so I don't think I'm going to try to push your buttons too much here, but I'm just looking at volume, right? It has to be just volume. And we saw how the Packers front seven just got worn out last week, right? The first half, Breece Hall was okay, right? But you just saw him just continue to do it, right? and Brian Robinson's a bruiser. I know you don't like those 3-yard runs that he runs into people. Well, then how about you just watch some A.J. Dillon? Because it's the same fucking shit. They do the same thing. Run 3 yards, run people over. But by the third and fourth quarter, that's adding up, right? You got Heineke in there. We know he can do the job. So you're not going to see like 9 dudes in the box. But I definitely think that Brian Robinson's going to get he had 17 carries last week, and he was only averaging 3-4 yards a carry.
Yep.
But you saw them continue to go to it, right? And Washington has a 15% negative pass block, right? The Packers are going to come after you. They're going to run after you. They're going to try to blitz as much as humanly possible. But they do have an 8% run block advantage here. And I think that's where they're going to have to go. You have no Wentz. I don't even know who your third string quarterback is. I think it's Howell, right? Is that your next guy?
Yeah, no, it's Sam Howell. Yep.
Yeah.
And I want to hate on this pick because I don't really like Brian Robinson, but it is a good pick, right? When you give a running back 17, 18 carries at this price point, it's kind of hard not to make it work, especially because it looks like he's going to get the goal line opportunities as well.
Yeah, 1-yard touchdown last week. I love to see that. He is what I call, actually, I don't know if I can call him the vulture, but the person whenever I refer to as a vulture, the first name is Roy Halou Jr. That is the vulture of all vultures. That man comes in for 1-yard carries, but you don't have to worry about that with Gibson, right? Gibson will actually maybe get you down the field, and Robinson can punch it in. The Packers give up a ton of rushing touchdowns. I think they're more than passing touchdowns this year. And I think that we're going to definitely be able to probably match up well with McLaurin. And I don't know what's up with Dotson either. So the best way to move the ball is going to be on the ground here. And obviously you guys are at home as well, which I think will help.
Yeah, no, like I said, wish I could hate on this a little bit more, but it does seem like he's once again in store for a nice workload, especially for fantasy. He's not going to catch any passes, but like you said, if you give a guy 15, 16, 17 opportunities, he's going to probably produce for you, or at least outproduce his fantasy price.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. We both went to opposites, our opposite team. We're playing each other this week. So that is all. That is all we got here. Let's take a look at the questions here. What is this one about? Is that the Cardinals game?
Total punts.
I'll kick it to you. You're into all these different ones that I don't do, so I would be surprised. Maybe I would do field goals kicked. Would be my guess.
I mean, hey, yeah, actually, field goals probably is a better look. Honestly, I wonder what if their lines are both 1.5, that might actually be pretty solid. But yeah, no, I have no clue. I mean, if you bet punts on primetime overs, that's probably been a good move so far. So
total field goals at 3.5.
That seems solid. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury on the first drive of the game against the Seahawks marched down to the 5-yard line and then settled for a field goal. That's such a Cliff Kingsbury move, especially against the Seahawks. So I could definitely see him doing that against the Saints.
Yeah, I don't think we will see another game this year with the Seahawks not allowing a touchdown. I would be extremely surprised to see that ever. But let's head to our recap here. Doesn't look like we have any other questions in there. Let's get to our recap. We will start with our NBA picks for today in our Taylor Fade section here.
Yep, I'm going Jalen Green over 22.5 points, minus 105. And then I will be tailing the public on KD over 27.5. If you have the DraftKings boost, just play it. It's not rigged, unless maybe it is. Who knows? But I'm going to play it, so we'll see.
Can you just imagine the backlash if that happens, dude?
It would be great. I'm rooting for him to miss, by the way. It would be so funny. It would make my life better if everyone else got back on Twitter and complained and cried and blah, blah, blah. I'm rooting for him to miss, just so everyone knows.
19 points. Followed on a 3, misses all 3 of them with 12 seconds left, and they lose.
Amazing. And then, for my cheap guy, I'll be going Romeo Dobbs this week in DFS. And then for my expensive guy, even though he's not too expensive, 5,800, Kenneth Walker will be in a lot of my lineups.
Beautiful. I will be heading to Dameon Pierce for my DFS stud this week, facing off against Las Vegas. Brian Robinson will be my cheap guy, 5,500 total there, facing off against my Packers. And then I'll be heading over to NBA with Jakob Poeltl over 11.5 rebounds, minus 103. We're almost there, plus money, Bob. We're almost there. I was only 3 cents off to getting that plus money for you. But I'm also heading over. I will take the over just because I don't want DraftKings to get burned to the ground, right? So I'm going to want that they find a way to get to these points because I don't want to see an angry mob outside of that. All right, 2 questions. I know you brought this up. You brought up, yes, you were going to back this when that comes out. And then we'll head over to Jay. Oh, appreciate you, NBA props. I didn't even see that was you. So I hope you're doing well. Best of luck. First big slate of the season. And I'll kick it to you here. I believe that's Scotty Barnes, and then that would be Jarrett Allen, plus 110, little combo there. What are you thinking here?
If you're going off last season's stats, then I think it is a good play. It's just I haven't looked at the defensive side of the ball at all, to be completely honest. So I really can't give you great feedback. I know Barnes was way less consistent. Like he racked up a lot of monster steal days where he'd have like 3 or 4, but he also did have quite a bit of, 0 games. So the average looks maybe a little bit better than the consistency, just from what I remember last season. But at plus 110, that does seem like a pretty good price right there. So I got really nothing negative to say about that.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And that is it, guys. That is it. First NBA show in the books for the season. Obviously, we do have our Thursday night football stuff, but I will be very light on that now that we have NBA to bet on Thursday as well. But yeah, we got all of our stuff out here. If you guys want to check out all of the stuff from before, if you're just popping in live now, all of it's in the back. Make sure you go just zoom it back there a little bit. Check out where our plays were at there at the beginning of the show, around that 10 to 12 minute mark. Stu, what do you got for the people? It's first day of NBA. Anything, any advice? Like I said, we kind of talked a little bit at the beginning, but is there anything you want to give the people here?
Yeah, man. I mean, you just got to trust your gut, or find some nice, kind of trends that you like to follow. I don't really have any great advice, to be completely honest with you, at this point in the season, but yeah, I don't know. Just follow my bets. I think I'm doing pretty well. So I guess that's my advice. As for anything else, make sure to follow us both on Pickett, right? That's where we got the Taylor fade from. And you can do it yourself, right? If you want to tailor fade the public every single day, if you want to know who's the most bet spot in the community, you can do that completely for free. You don't have to wait for some guy sponsored by MGM to give you his daily forced tweet with a gun behind his head about who's the most popular guy of the day. You can do it yourself. And it's not like it's uploaded by anyone at the sportsbook. It's based directly on bets that go into your sportsbook. So make sure to download Pickett, use code PTP, completely free app. Like I said, I posted some content for the Thursday night football game over there already. And yeah, follow us both over there and on Twitter.
Yeah, no, we have a ton of stuff over there. I know we're both starting to get some more followers over there, which is awesome that we're having more people follow our stuff. So thank you guys for all you guys who tuned in over there. Make sure you use code PTP. Like I said, my biggest thing is you're going to find guys that you love to bet on. Make sure you find those guys early in the season to make sure you maximize that money. I know mine last year was Cade Cunningham, and it was Pirtle and Giddy. Those were my 3 dudes I just love to back. They're like the Renfros from last year, Nick Chubb from last year, right? Those guys that you have a great read on. Maybe it's your hometown team guy. Maybe it's Giannis. Maybe it's a superstar that you like to watch. But find those guys and what their trends are that you've been making money on. And I'm sure you'll be able to make a ton of money there. But follow both of us, Twitter and Pickett. Thank you guys for tuning in. Best of luck on your bets on the first night of NBA. Good luck, and hopefully you don't fall asleep during the Thursday night football game again. So have a good one, guys. We'll talk soon.